Hey everybody, Tyler here, back with another Korean movie review. Continuing with some of the older Korean movies, I thought what better way to continue than to do a real classic, the 2003 film. You know what it is, the classic. Directed by Kwak Jae-young, the director that brought us My Sassy Girl. And for a lot of people, at least when I was back living in the States, if I would run into somebody and they would ask me, what are you interested in? And I would say something like Korean movies. Other than Old Boy at the time, this is one of them that people knew, My Sassy Girl. It was just that big and very successful. To me, it at least proved that a romantic movie could really be enjoyed by anybody, because I had male friends, female friends, both that loved this movie. And before I saw My Sassy Girl, it was typically the case, I think, that most romantic comedies, at least the ones that I was familiar with, in America, were very much targeted towards predominantly female audiences. I really think it hit a whole new level, and I thought the director found this kind of perfect balance to really make it enjoyable for everybody. So for really the first time in my movie-loving career, I was looking forward to a romantic movie coming out with the classic. You know, I did have doubts whether it could match the freshness that I felt when watching My Sassy Girl, but after I watched it, I was proved that I need to worry, because there was a whole new approach that went in here, and it was just as fresh. I guess you could say it was a little bit risky, doing a period piece kind of in a way that a lot of this movie is set in 1968. However, there is a very clever script convention here where there's there's two stories that are interwoven. And one of them does take place in 2003, so as modern as you could really get at the time, because this is when the movie was made, 2003. So we get sort of this double dose. It's a double love story. All right, so the classic opens in modern day, at the time, 2003, with the character Ji-hae, played by Son Ye-jin. She's going through this sort of dusty old box that contains her parents' old diaries and various love letters that they had exchanged to each other. And at the same time, through some pretty fun expositional narration, we learn that Ji-hae has a crush on her best friend's boyfriend named Sang-min, who's played by Jo In-sung. And Ji-hae actually ghostwrites love letters for her friend to give to him. So while she's sort of tidying up, as wind blows through and the letters get scattered, she notices something interesting on one of the letters, and it's about one of the names that's written on there. So as she begins to read them, we go back in time to 1968, where Oh Jun-ha, played by Seung-woo, is actually ghostwriting letters for his best friend, Tae-soo, played by Lee Ki-woo, to send to a girl named Joo-hee. So Joo-hee, Ji-hae's mom, which is also played by Son Ye-jin, who's doing double duty in this one, Joo-hee's relationship with Tae-soo, and Tae-soo's best friend, Jun-ha, become the core story in the 1968 portion of this film. And as Ji-hae is reading through these letters, she's learning about the incredible story of her parents' first love, all these circumstances and the emotional roller coaster that really went into their whole multi-year saga of first love. And it's helping Ji-hae really learn more about her own predicament and the feelings she's experiencing regarding love. So this movie, the classic, you would not believe how many just scenes and how well it portrays that joy, the pains, the innocence, all those factors that go into what most people consider the first love experience. And while this movie does lay on the melodrama pretty thick at times, in combination with, in my opinion, what is one of the better soundtracks, just perfectly selected, at least for this movie, of Korean cinema, this movie somehow manages to hit all the right chords on the emotional scale, and I find myself just going, okay, it's going through and it's got me. And it has just so many of those memorable scenes that, you know, when you think of a romantic movie, there's like that one scene that's classic from it, and it's like the one you're always waiting for, where you get the feels and it's in slow motion, or it's the big hug with awesome backdrop. Whatever the case, the classic has like 10 of those scenes. So you could argue that this director almost put every card that he had in the deck in this movie, perhaps mistakenly, especially when you consider the movie that followed this sort of felt like he ran out of those scenes. I think he put way too much of them in this. I like it, but, for almost to his detriment that he put whatever he had imagined, it's all here. Could have easily saved a couple for his future romantic movies. And as far as leading actors go, they really don't get much better than Son Ye-jin, who was also in A Moment to Remember, The Last Princess more recently, Seung-woo, who I think one of his best performances in Marathon, but also more recently in Inside Men. You probably have seen him in Tacha, Jo In-sung from A Dirty Carnival, more recently The King. And so to watch the classic now in 2018 is also to be able to see these actors who have gone through such incredible careers, 10 years younger, looking a little bit more baby-faced. This all plays into this nostalgia that the classic originally wanted to create, and by setting its story in 1968 with all of these classic elements of love stories, so I think this film has aged really well in that sense, because there's another layer of nostalgia that can be viewed, when looking at the actors. And this movie does tread some little dangerous ground of almost becoming a little too sappy or too melodramatic at times, but I really feel it's a testament to the acting in this movie that all those scenes that I think with any lesser actor, it would have felt like that. But the acting is so good that all the romance scenes, and as it cuts back and forth from 1968 to 2003, even just showing the contrasts of classic love story versus a modern day love story, some of the similarities and differences. It's so weird that it looks sappy, but it works so well, and I really think it has to do with the directing and the acting and everything that went into this movie. The late 60s and 70s was a time that Korea really saw a lot of change, and this movie actually does touch on things like entering into the Vietnam War, the country becoming more economically and technologically advanced, and even protesting dictators that would arise in the future. So really, one does not need to be a romantic movie junkie to appreciate the classic and what it has to offer. There's also a lot of comedy and gags peppered throughout, so if you're not into the whole melodrama aspect of this movie, the comedy should be more than enough to get you through. And even for someone like myself who tends to like more extreme experimental cinema, for whatever the reason, I think it's because this movie is so well done. There is the real soft spot in my heart for movies like this that are just feel so pure and executed so well. So from the acting to the editing to the music, this is one of those movies that you can really feel the care and passion that went into the project. So that's why I really wanted to get the classic out there for those of you that haven't seen it yet, to give my recommendation at least to go check it out. It's really a classic for all time, and especially in the genre of romance and melodrama. So that's why I want to rate this movie a strong 9 out of 10. Just give it a try, and I think you'll like it. So that's going to be it for this one. Until next time, I'm Tyler at The Movie Beat. Keep watching movies.